Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome everyone into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology turned podcast. Everyone, welcome to the program. I hope that you're having a wonderful week. And of course, this week it has been, New Year's Eve. And of course, everyone, I'm sure, has those amazing, definitely going to hold firm New Year's resolutions. And ladies and gentlemen, trust me, it's going to click this 1 year. 1 year, it's definitely going to click. So I hope all of you have a very productive and accomplish all of your goals this year. It's going to be a lot of fun. And of course, here with Computer America, we are going to jump into a new year with, of course, Ralph Bond. Ralph Bond is our science and tech trends correspondent. He'll be joining us here in just a moment. And if you haven't really had a chance to listen to one of his segments, well, hey, I can't imagine a better way to kick this all off, because it's it's very uplifting. It's very good. There's been a lot of amazing celebrations from around the world that if you have really had a chance to go out and see all of them all over the world, it's very exciting stuff. There's some really bad news as well, but hey, that's not this show. This show is going to be uplifting, good, hopeful stuff. And this is stuff that, odds are you probably have not heard of, because, we certainly don't cover these kinds of stories on our regular program. And Ralph does an amazing job of finding these stories that go a little bit under the radar and have a, upward bend to them. They're an upward bent to them. They're very positive. So with that being said, computeramerica.com, that's where you'll find everything, including the show notes. Ralph does an amazing job putting together the show notes so that if you're busy, if your hands are tied, whatever happened, you can go to our website and you can find everything there in one place. So feel free to go ahead and do that. While you're there, check out social media links, articles, reviews, all that good stuff and more. You can check that out. And in the meantime, let's go ahead and jump right back into it with, not back into it, but let's jump, it's a new year. Let's jump back into it with Ralph Bond. So Ralph, how you been?
Okay, and hey, Happy New Year to everybody. And like Ben was alluding to, what you're going to get in our segment, each segment we do of these stories is look at 4 recent articles that show us key trends and developments in everything from artificial intelligence, robotics, medical technology, sustainable energy technology, transportation advances, agricultural technology, space research, physics, you name it. And given the horrible news on New Year's Day, or New Year's Eve in Louisiana was such a tragedy, but we're not going to dark places with this show. Most important of all, has been alluded, we're going to give you an oasis of positive news thanks to the world of science and technology. So you're in for a real treat. And again, I want to stress, if you're listening to us as a podcast, that's wonderful. But if you want to see what we're talking about, get the links. Again, come to computeramerica.com and get today's show notes.
Absolutely. So today's show, we're going to start with, and kind of browsing through it, it's a very kind of green kind of focus. How do we kind of blend technology and nature? Because
Yes.
Especially story number 1, and this happens often with us, Ralph, is you think some of the more low-tech things, like no matter how fast computer chips get, no matter how crazy software gets, plants growing in the ground is generally something that is still the way it's been done for millions and millions of years. But story number 1 kind of goes to the heart of, how we use technology to help us, better preserve and, kind of work with nature. So let's go ahead and start with story number 1.
Yeah, story number 1 comes from one of my favorite outlets, phys.org, which stands for physics.org. Wonderful. Headline here really caught my eye. Solar-powered plasma technology offers a sustainable solution for seed germination challenges. And the headline's great, but it doesn't really do the full justice to the story. I think you're going to find this, I hope you'll find this to be pretty darned interesting. So here's a key problem. Let's set the stage. The key problem facing the agricultural world, tech world around the world, I should say, the aging of seeds held in seed bank storage facilities is a critical challenge for the worldwide agricultural industry. And Ben, I didn't even know about these seed storage facilities. Get a load of this. A little side note in the show notes. There are 20 U.S. government official seed banks in our country. And these seed banks are crucial for preserving genetic diversity and ensuring the future of agriculture. And they store a wide variety of seeds, including modern seeds, historical seeds, that's interesting, and wild relatives of current day crops. Wow. And in the show notes, I have a link. You can go learn more about these seed banks. So
I thought we had just I thought we had just offloaded all of that to Monsanto. Like I thought they were just handling all that. But yeah, these seed banks are crazy.
Yeah, 20 seed banks all across the country. Pretty cool. And as seeds age in storage facilities, it results in significant reduction in germination rates, seedling vigor, and undermines the efforts to preserve genetic diversity. So aging seeds are a problem. They don't last, or they're not viable forever and ever. So it's a problem. So researchers, to address this, researchers at the University of Arkansas have developed a new, sustainable, and cost-effective solution. What they came up with? A solar-powered plasma water generator. Now, this is geeky, capable of rejuvenating aged seeds and promoting robust seedling growth. Wow. I mean, this is geeky. I'm going to give you a geek out warning right up front here.
Yeah, plasma water.
You're going to love this. The researchers developed a novel corona dielectric barrier discharge microreactor. Wow. Okay. That promotes plasma activated water using solar energy. So this is geeky, but it's the bottom line is they're using solar energy. That's why it's sustainable. This innovative system effectively enhances seed germination by modifying the chemical and hormonal environment essential for seed development. Now, in the show notes, I have a little side note about what the heck is plasma activated water? I went, what? Well, this is water that has been treated with atmospheric pressure plasma. This process generates a mixture of reactive oxygen and nitrogen species, such as ozone, hydrogen peroxide, and hydroxyl radicals. And in the show notes, I have more information about what this is, what atmospheric pressure plasma is all about. You can get more details, but for the sake of time, we'll move on in the story. So it goes on to say the researchers demonstrated that spinach seeds stored for 23 years showed a remarkable 135% increase in germination rates and significantly improved seedling growth after plasma activated water treatment compared to untreated seeds. So again, there's so much, as we often say to the audience, Ben, there's so much more going on in this story than we can share in this little highlight exercise we're going through. That's why the show notes are so important. And a key to the success of this process is biochemical transformation induced by the plasma activated water. The treatment lowers pH, increases oxidation reduction potential, and elevates nitrate levels. Ding, ding, ding. Elevates nitrate levels, creating an ideal environment for germination. So, Ben, this is so many layers to this story.
Yeah, it really seems like they're somehow able to almost make the water itself fertilize. They're fertilizing not just with fertilizer, but it's fertilizing the water itself. And
it's a type of water that introduces these elements that make it ideal for seedling germination. So yeah, you're right on target there.
It's really cool.
And it goes on to say, furthermore, plasma activated water influences. But there's more. Influences key plant hormones such as gibberellins, that's a funny sounding word, and abscisic acid. I can't even say that. Abscisic acid to break seed dormancy and promote growth. And again, in the show notes, if you want to geek out, I have more about what gibberellins and abscisic acid is. You can learn more about that. And these findings suggest that the solar-powered plasma water generator they've created at the University of Arkansas only restores the vitality, try that again. Not only restores the vitality of aged seeds, but also offers insights into the molecular mechanisms underlying seed rejuvenation. Wow. A lead scientist on the University of Arkansas team noted, quote, "This solar-powered technology," that's a key, solar-powered technology, "is a significant step forward in sustainable agriculture. It provides a low-cost, environmentally friendly method to enhance the germination of aged seeds, in this case stored seeds, which are often discarded due to their diminished viability." So think about all this seed stock in those 20 U.S. seed banks, and often in the past, they'd have to just throw them away when they get to be too old. But wait, time out. This new technology may offer a solution. The quote goes on to say, "By harnessing renewable solar energy, this innovation addresses critical challenges in food production while reducing waste." There you go. Drum roll, please.
Yeah, no, it's really incredible that they're able to, and it reminds me so much of, sometimes they find these seeds that are super old. I'm sure the fossilized ones can't be used, but like they have like plants that they thought they were extinct, but then they find it in certain places and they try to get them to replant. Like I think just the other year, Ralph, there was like somewhere in the Middle East there was like a palm tree that had been extinct for like 2,000 years, and they found some seeds and they started growing it, like old plants that maybe, hey, before they thought the seeds were non-viable, maybe they can make them viable again and even get some new cool plants as well. Still, like you said, a lot of terminology that, again, my extent of gardening is put plant in ground, hopefully leaves up, and put water on plant, or let sky put water on plant. That's as far as I know. And now you're introducing things like, what was that one?
Plasma activated water.
Yeah, seedling vigor and stuff like that. It's there's a lot more science that goes into it, but still very cool.
And you know what, Ben? It also reminds me, Doug, we're joking. I'm the same way as far as gardening goes. That's my wife's department. But the world of agriculture is very scientific, very technical, involves a lot of really genius people around the world. And we just kind of take it for granted. We don't think about it. And so I love this story because it kind of raises awareness for agricultural technology.
How much longer before they're making plants out of computers? But I say that, but that's my bridge to the second story where they're actually making computers out of plants. That's my bridge.
Yes. You're right.
Yeah, so story number 2.
Story continues on with the wonderful world of plants. But this is when I saw this headline in Anthropocene.com, I about fell out of my chair. It says, "Circuit boards made from leaves could green up electronics act." What? Circuit boards made from leaves? I have to know.
This is
a really geeky, interesting story. So
this is
first, let's set the stage.
Before
today, the world produces more than 50 million metric tons of electric waste a year. That's each year, 50 million metric tons of electronic waste. And that number is slated to double by 2050. So that's pretty scary. And printed circuit boards, Ben, the flat boards onto which all circuit chips, wires, and other components of an electronic gadget are soldered, constitute a big share of this electronic waste, as you can imagine. And printed circuit boards, friends, are typically made of fiberglass or composite plastic. This material is difficult to recycle and is usually either dumped in landfills, yikes, or burned to separate the valuable metals for reuse. It's all well and good to get the valuable metals for reuse, but the burning process is pollution, okay? So in a spin on green electronics, researchers from the Dresden University of Technology have made a biodegradable electronic circuit board from tree leaves. And wait until you find out how they did this. Just too much. So here we go. Such leaf-based electronics, or as the team calls it, I love this, leaftronics,
of course,
as the team called it, could reduce millions of tons of waste that humans produce each year. Now, in the show notes, from the article, I have a link to their scientific paper if you want to dive into this in great detail. So in the journal Science Advances, the team used the veiny, webbed skeleton or veins of leaves to create their biodegradable substrates. Huh. The research team started by stripping away the cells, in this case of a magnolia leaf, to leave behind the white veined skeleton structure. And they dipped the vein scaffold into ethyl cellulose, a tough biodegradable polymer. The resulting leaftronics, as they call it, the substrate they created with this is smooth, flexible, transparent, and can handle high temperatures. It's just overwhelming. In this sense, it rivals plastic and glass, as the team points out, but it's biodegradable. The researchers noted they could use a laser to cut the substrate, print circuits on it, and solder electronic components on top. Unbelievable. Wow.
Yeah. The images, really kind of drive it home that it's, there's the polymer, so it's almost like plasticky for those who can't see it. It's, translucent, but you can definitely tell right off the bat that it's a leaf. This is the structure of a leaf, and it's Ralph. I'm like, obviously, this would be a huge step forward for electronics, across the board. Not to make a pun, but across the board, this would be a huge step forward, because, like you said at the very beginning, so much of the e-waste is just essentially taking those plastic boards and just burning away the plastic, and that happens all the time. It's a really, really, really big problem. But this, like, I'm guessing because it has the plastic in it, the biodegradable plastic, it can be used in everyday electronics. I'm just wondering, will this lead to more, not disposable electronics, but like, will this lead to, is this more for like the one-time use, lesser, cheaper electronics, or is this going to be in your home computer, in, giant server farms? Like, I'm wondering where this technology would kind of fit in first.
Well, it's all great questions. And again, folks, if you're listening to us as a podcast, you need to come out, get the show notes at computeramerica.com to see the pictures we're talking about, where you can see the leaf structure as part of the substrate of this circuit board they've created. It's just hard to put your head around it and where it will go from here, whether it's really viable. One of the questions I have is how many millions of leaves, in this case they use magnolia leaves, how many millions of leaves would you have to somehow gather and process to make this work? So the fact that you could do it is great. Now it's time for the practicality or reality check to come into play. And how do you pull this off?
The scalability, I'm sure, or something, but I'm sure sourcing leaves is going to be really, and you spent a lot of time at Intel, and we've looked at processors. Like,
yes,
the technical challenges of processors, I'm sure processing leaves would be the lesser part of making rocks.
Oh yes,
it's still
I think
very
it's
cool.
The gathering of the leaves that in a form that doesn't get them ruined. I'll digress just for a second. I live in Oregon, folks, outside of Portland. We have leaf gathering services. So our city of Hillsboro, outside of Portland, twice a year in the fall and then the December timeframe, they come by with big trucks. You can put your leaves out on the street. You make a nice little row so it doesn't interrupt with the gutters. And then they have these big machines that come through and gather up the leaves, and then a street sweeper comes along and cleans everything up. So, but those leaves are destroyed. I mean, they're all crunched up and they go into mulching. But how do you harvest leaves, enough of them, to make this kind of printed circuit board technology possible? TBD, we'll see.
Yep, we'll see if this technology makes it in, but really it's also kind of hinting that there is this legitimate problem of green recyclable electronics, and this is trying to tackle that. And so this may not be the answer, but like so many other stories, it may be part of the answer, and that is important research. So good stuff there. Story number 2, story number 3. We're going to keep with the plants to an extent.
Yes, to an extent.
Ralph, so the best part of plants is this thing called photosynthesis, where because I totally just bombed out of chemistry in biology in high school, I can't go into it, but it's this way that plants turn sunlight and water into sugar, and it's really cool. It's very handy. for plants. What this could mean for other things and for other projects, I'm sure we'll find out with story number 3. But to take that process to mimic to use technology to mimic nature, that is another trend that is, ever present in technology today. So,
Absolutely.
Ralph, story number 3.
Yeah, this comes from earth.com. Headline: Artificial photosynthesis could transform power generation. Now, what we're talking about here, this news is all about using sunlight instead of electricity to split water molecules, leading to the generation of green hydrogen as a sustainable fuel source. So a little tutorial here, a little refresh for everybody. In the world of hydrogen, Ben, you and I are hearing more and more and more every day about hydrogen power for vehicles, hydrogen power for this, hydrogen power for that. I think we're entering a period of time now, as we've left the first quarter of this century, into a world of hydrogen being really possibly a serious solution to our fuel issues. But in that world, there's something called dirty hydrogen. Dirty hydrogen is made from natural gas, okay? Then there's all these different forms of so-called green hydrogen, hydrogen that's made through processes that don't involve emitting CO2 into the atmosphere, hence clean or green hydrogen. So that's what this story is all about. So with that set up here, let's dive into it. It says, in a decisive step towards the future, a team from the Japan Advanced Institute of Science and Technology and the University of Tokyo have taken a, no pun intended, leaf out of nature's book. They've created an inventive new hydrogel that could drastically improve clean energy production of hydrogen by harnessing the power of photosynthesis using sunlight. The bio-inspired hydrogel is capable of producing hydrogen and oxygen through a process that closely mirrors photosynthesis, offering a unique method for hydrogen energy generation. The key, Ben, bottom line, sunlight instead of electricity is used to split water molecules, leading to the generation of hydrogen. So, time out. In the world of green or clean hydrogen, it's an electronic process. Electrolysis is used to split the water molecules to result in generating hydrogen. Now we're talking about this research from Japan that says, well, wait a minute, we can use sunlight. Talk about how friendly that is.
Yeah.
I gotta love it.
Cutting out the middleman and just going, instead of sunlight to solar panels to electricity to this process, just going straight to sunlight and hopefully improving efficiency. So it makes sense.
Yeah, it's a fascinating development. So here's where it gets a little geeky. The key to making this work is meticulously planned polymer networks. These networks govern the vital electron transfer required for water splitting. And packed with traditional molecules like ruthenium complexes and platinum nanoparticles, this is very geeky, the hydrogels replicate photosynthesis to generate green or clean hydrogen. And to wrap it up here, it says, this discovery has significant implications for clean energy, the dawn of a future where renewable hydrogen could drive industries, transport, and energy storage systems is closer than ever, as this article ends on a very upbeat note. But salute to our friends in Japan for coming up with this idea.
Yep, and when we talk about hydrogen, I think Japan is definitely one of the leaders when it comes to that. Not only are a lot of their car industries, like Ralph, here in the U.S., I'd say for the last 10, 15 years, we've had a big push on electronic cars, lithium batteries and, trying to get them more efficient, improve the range, improve the, just kind of market appeal of these things. In Japan, don't get me wrong, electric cars are still a thing, but a lot of their car companies are investing in hydrogen fuel cells. Not just for their buses and not just for their garbage trucks and stuff like that, but also for their everyday cars. So producing that hydrogen is so important to the Japanese kind of method of going green, and I think everyone else is going to benefit from it. You can't just put all your egg. That's kind of what we learned, Ralph, in the last 10, 15 years. Is like, electric cars just aren't going to be here fast enough. We haven't made enough batteries. It's just not efficient enough. we need hydrogen. That is definitely a trend that you have highlighted. Just, hey, this is another piece of the puzzle. How do you get hydrogen? And this could be it. So very, very cool.
Very true.
Yep. Story number 3. Story number 4. And this one captured the imagination because when you think about tattoos, I'm not saying everyone's tattoo out there is useless, but tattoos are generally, Ralph, they're generally like, expression, they're art, they're something that have a lot of personal significance. Not a lot of like, useful tattoos or like even life-saving tattoos or life-improving tattoos. Story number 4 gets to, I would say, the heart of it, but the head of it. And these tattoos could actually, help improve treatment and just make treatment easier for some people. So story number 4, electronic tattoos.
Yeah. And in fact, folks, if you're new to the show and what we do with this segment, we usually end our 4 articles we highlight with something from the medical technology world. And when I saw this in livescience.com, I could not resist this headline. Electronic scalp tattoos could be the next big thing in brain monitoring. Wow. And this is pretty clever, pretty interesting stuff. So here we go. Scientists at the University of Texas in Austin have developed a new technology that can measure brain waves using electronic temporary tattoos. My grandkids love temporary tattoos. But we're talking about something a lot more sophisticated than what my grandkids are doing. The researchers say the method could act as a quicker and more convenient way to monitor brain activity and diagnose neurological conditions such as seizures, epilepsy, and brain tumors compared to traditional electroencephalogram EEG tests. Going forward, we'll just go with EEG. So during an EEG test, technicians normally use rulers and pencils to mark up a person's head before gluing electrodes across the scalp. And these electrodes are then connected via long wires to equipment that records the brain activity. I think in your mind, you can kind of picture this process. You've seen it so many times before. And again, there's an alternative, a cap-like structure of the cap you wear with electrodes embedded that's placed directly on the head. Kind of bulky, but that's another way to go. Here's the problem. However, this whole process is time-consuming and inconvenient. It generally takes about 1 to 2 hours just to set up an EEG test. The electrodes then need to be monitored about every 2 hours because the glue that attaches them to the scalp dries up. Now, again, if you have the cap, that gets around that. But even with the cap, it's a long, involved process.
Right.
Now, the new technology the University of Texas folks came up with, on the other hand, uses a robot that's programmed to precisely dispense ink made of conductive material onto specific positions, on a person's scalp. So it's very precise, saving both time and labor, the researchers say. The temporary electronic ink tattoos, and you're seeing a video that Ben is showing you illustrating this, the temporary electronic ink tattoos dry into a thin film that's only 30 micrometers thick. That's approximately half the width of a human hair. That's how thin this is. And like regular EEG electrodes, these electronic tattoos can be used to detect changes in the electrical activity of the brain. Whoa, pretty amazing. The thing that I can see right away is clearly these people have very short hair like me, and it makes it much more easier to apply these tattoos. I don't know what you would do with a woman with full hair and so forth, but don't worry about that detail. Just the concept is wonderful.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, it's not completely shaved, bald. Like there is hair there, so I think that's really impressive as well.
I couldn't agree more. It's impressive all the way around. So to go on here, it says the University of Texas researchers tested the technology on 5 people with short hair, in this case, let's be honest, with short hair, to compare it to conventional EEG technology. They found that the electronic tattoos were just as good at detecting brain waves as the conventional EEG electrodes that were placed next to them. So they did a side-by-side comparison, which I think is really cool. Now, a little reality check, but not a negative, but just a reality check. Currently, this new printing process still takes about an hour as the team must manually correct for a person's head movements. But here's the deal. However, if future adaptive robotic printing can be fully automated, the whole printing process, the team believes, can get down to 20 minutes of preparation. So when you go from 1 to 2 hours and interim checks and so forth of the positioning of electrodes, that's the conventional way to do things, to something that's 20 minutes and you don't have to mess around with checking on it because it's not going to move. It's a tattoo. Wow.
Yeah, 1 to 2 hours down to 20 minutes, and then on top of that, potentially even the glue and the constant maintenance of it
goes away.
Yeah. This could really speed up that whole process. And
yes.
Hey, efficiency is kind of the name of the game when it comes to healthcare and medicine and stuff like that. So
sure.
Very, very cool. Like you said, on short hair, it is going to be, kind of curious. Like, I guess, Ralph, they always have the fallbacks. If someone has longer hair, they can go ahead and do that. But still, very cool. And the video, really highlighted just what we were talking about. So everyone, computeramerica.com, go check that out. So with that being said, if you're following along, because by the time that you are hearing this, the show notes are up on the site. I should have said that at the beginning, although we did say go out and get them. But yeah, you may notice that there are more stories in the show notes. And just for time's sake, we try to keep this, we try to keep it to about 4 stories. That's a pretty good chunk of time that we can ask of y'all. But these honorable mentions are not just worse. They're not, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th place. No, these are just stories that we just don't have time for. And they're all still very cool. And you should definitely check them out in the show notes, which are available on the site. So, Ralph, with that being said, let's at least give them the headlines. And then, we'll do that.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to skip over this real quick, but come to the show notes. You can get all the details. So this comes from Cornell University Chronicle, their news outlet online. Headline, Rocket Fuel Inspired Technology Captures a football field's worth of CO2 in 1 teaspoon of an innovative new material they've developed. So this whole business about capturing CO2 from the air, Ben, this has been something that's been also a very consistent technology story for us over the past year or so. Check this out, though. Cornell has come up with a very, very interesting material. Next story, another kind of CO2-related thing, but this comes from phys.org. Headline, CO2 eating bacteria can recycle carbon from chimney smoke directly into new products. Think of industrial chimneys, right? In power plants and other things of this nature. What? CO2 eating bacteria can recycle carbon from chimney smoke directly into new products? Got to check that one out. I thought that was fascinating. Next one. Bacteria, going back to bacteria again, bacteria-inspired solar lasers could power space missions one day. And this story is fascinating as it has to do with an approach that's inspired by the way bacteria and other plants and organisms convert light energy into chemical energy, a process known as photosynthesis. There's photosynthesis again.
I was about to say, I had no idea bacteria had lasers. That's news to me to begin with. But yeah, very cool. Oh
yeah, you check this one out. This is another really cool story. And then, last but not least, a tutorial. Very helpful. Not so much news, but more of a roundup tutorial, which I thought was so good that I wanted to share with everybody. From CNET, headline, what is quantum artificial intelligence? Everything to know about this far out tech. So we know about quantum mechanics, we know about artificial intelligence. Now we're talking about quantum artificial intelligence. If you're looking for a good general purpose tutorial, check this out. So some really good stuff this week.
Let's face it, an article like that is sorely needed because when it comes to it, Ralph, it's 2 technologies that I think people hear about all the time, but don't really have a firm grasp of. And now they're just mixing them. They're just trying to confuse us at this point, Ralph. And they're winning. They're going to win. So everyone out there, Ralph, I want to thank you so much for doing this. And hey, Happy New Year to everyone else out there. Happy New Year to you guys. And hey, we have a lot of fun shows planned for you this year. I will say that computeramerica.com, we have the show notes. You can find all of that there, including everything that we talk about today and the past and the future, all that, everyone, check that out. So with all that being said, music means that we are done. We'll catch you here next time, and I hope all of you have a fantastic year going forward. So Ralph, thank you so much. Everyone else, we'll catch you next time. Have a good one. Bye, everyone.